Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Financial Freedom. Tonight, I have a beautiful guest with me, Miss Holly Reed Tootle, and we have an evening packed full of great information for you. So we'll allow everybody a minute to join us, and then Holly, we'll jump right in. Okay? All
That's
right.
perfect. That sounds good. I'm actually looking. I found it. I was looking for the chat box, so I'm gonna be
Awesome.
in the chat too.
Awesome. Good. Good. Um, while we allow others to join us, I'll just give a few reminders. On Tuesday night, tomorrow night at 7 p.m., we have Dr. McCoy Tuesday night teaching, and you don't want to miss it. She is always on point and bringing the word and breaking it down for us and helping us to understand God's word and how it applies to us each and every day. On Wednesdays, 6:30 a.m., if you want to join us back for prayer, midweek prayer, just to get that Wednesday going and get us over the remainder of the week. And then on Sunday, you can join us for service in person or online. Um, in person is at the Wren's Library, and online is through Facebook Live, or you can go to the church's website and join us there in any of the different channels. So we look forward to seeing you in any of those venues. Well, with that being said, let me introduce my guests. I had the privilege of just falling right into the hands of Miss Holly, and Holly is an award winning author. She is also a financial educator and instructor. She's dedicated to helping families incorporate healthy money habits. Can't we all use some of that? Healthy money habits. And she has a number of resources that you can look out to. I have some that I'm going to share with you this evening. I got my smart cards. We're going to talk about that with our families and our kids. And she does different camps for children, um, and critical workshops for teens. I don't want to miss any of this. And, she has a TikTok presence that I absolutely love. She makes money and finances fun and she break it down for you. And I found myself just scrolling through her TikTok, just looking at all of them because I was intrigued and learning as I went along. So you gonna get a treat this evening. So with that, without further ado, I missed one critical step is now that we have some joining us, let's just bow our heads for a quick prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening with open hearts and minds, Lord, thanking you for your grace and mercy that covers us each and every day, Lord. Lord, thank you for ordering our steps as we go to and from our prospective homes and works and different venues, Lord. Lord, we just ask that you bless our land, Lord. There's so much happening, and we know that this just did not catch you by surprise, Lord. You know it, and you've ordered each step along the way, Lord. If we keep our faith in you, Lord, we know that you will see us through. We bless those, Lord, that have moments where they have had some bereavement within their families, Lord. We just ask you to campus your angels around them and protect them and let them know that you are always there for us, Lord. These and all other blessings I ask in your son's name. Amen. All right. Well, let's see, Holly. I'm going to turn it over to you and just let you jump in and talk about some of the things that you're doing to help our youth and adults, because I'm still a learner, right? When it comes to finances.
Yes, thank you so much, Bridget, for inviting me today. I am super excited. Financial literacy, financial education is something that is really close to my heart. And I jumped into this space really based off of my own personal experiences. So I just want to welcome everybody who is joining live. I see Miss McCoy in the chat. So keep it up. I'm going to need some engagement because I feed off of the energy. And talk about pressure. When you talk about my TikTok channel, it's funny because I actually use the TikTok channel. It's almost like a creative outlet for me. Like I deal with numbers and I deal in black and white all day because I am a CPA. I am an accountant. I do that full time. But my love, my passion, my ministry is talking to families and teaching our youth, this next generation, about financial literacy. And so, again, for those who may just be jumping in, my name is Holly Reed Tootle. I am based right here in Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised. And Bridget invited me because I just really wanted to come and share my story and then see if there are any ways that we all can connect and grow together. More importantly, so we can make sure we raise the next generation of future millionaires. Okay, so
Yeah.
just to kick it off, so my story, how it all began. Like my parents, my mom is from Montgomery, Alabama, and she was raised with it was 11 of them. My dad is right here from Atlanta. It was 9 of them. So you guys, I'm coming from a large family, right? And so growing up, my parents did what most parents do. They told me everything that they knew about how to become successful, how to lay a solid a financial foundation. And so by all the things that they taught me and my sisters, by the time I was 23, I had met the mark. I went to North Carolina A&T, where I studied accounting. I graduated with honors. My dad really encouraged me and my sisters to not rent, to buy a house. So moved back in with them, lived in their house for a year while I saved my money and bought my first house. And I was working for one of the top public accounting firms in the world. And so, by all means, by everything on paper, I was like the epitome of young and successful. And so much so that I was doing exactly what our America teaches us to do. I was living above my means. I wasn't saving a dime. I was accumulating a bunch of debt. I'm talking credit card debt, student loans, auto loans. I told you guys I had a whole house, right? And then the dot-com bubble burst. And so the firm that I was working with lost clients, and little Miss Epitome of Success lost her job. And let me tell you, I was devastated. I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. I was hurt. I was humiliated. And I promise you, it took pretty much everything um, in me to even go and tell my parents, share with my parents that I had just been laid off. That was one of the big critical moments for me. And it was probably in that moment, in that conversation with my parents, more than anything else, I felt shame, right? Like I was ashamed for being so wasteful, for being so naive, for thinking this could never happen to me. And but I was so unprepared, and I pretty much vowed in that moment that would never happen again. I would never find myself in that situation again. And so, Bridget, that was like my first taste of rock bottom. Like once you graduate and out on your own, and you think you have it going on, but it's one of the reasons why I teach everything I learn. I teach everything I learn, and so that experience made me seek knowledge. Right, I just started listening to all the financial gurus at the time. Right, from Dave
Right.
Ramsey to Susie Orman, like anybody who was talking about money and personal finance, I was listening to it. I was reading books, reading different articles, so that I could get myself together and come back even better than ever. And so, in that, God gave me my God idea. I claim this as my God idea because I have years where I was journaling just about whatever life was throwing at me, whatever I was going through. And in those journals, I could see where I had started outlining this book that I wrote, right? But I never wrote it, right?
Right.
But the idea was always there. And I didn't start writing. I didn't decide to write the book until it became like just something I couldn't stop thinking about it. Like it would like keep me up at night, and I was like, I got to do something with this idea. And so, in all of the studying, in all of the, me clawing my way out of debt, because I ended up clawing my way out of over $30,000 of debt, and
Wow.
excluding my mortgage. And once I accomplished that, I wanted everyone I knew, I wanted everyone I didn't know to know what it felt like on the other side of debt, on the other side of student loans, on the other side of, being burdened by credit card debt. And so I just thought, like, what could be the solution? What is the solution? And I realized just how much I was never taught or exposed to in my youth. Now, listen, my dad and parents, they gave me lots of great money advice, right? My
Mhm.
dad would tell me to save my money. My dad would, advise us, you want to buy assets, you want to buy a house, you don't want to rent. My mom was the ultimate penny pitcher, so she would make the dollars stretch further than you can imagine. But what was often missing from those conversations, was the why and the how. It was the
Absolutely.
why and the how. And so I really wanted to pull something together that was going to be easy to digest, to fill those gaps for parents, and give parents the exact blueprint on what they should be teaching their kids about money management before they leave the house. And that's how Teach Your Child to Fish was born. So I all since last week I've been celebrating the 6th anniversary of this book. It turned 6 years old on March 10th. Teach your child to fish, 5 money habits every child should master. And I've been calling it the birthday book bundle, offering the book and the workbook for sale all last week and through actually tonight. And because it has really been a blessing, because even 6 years from now, the stories that I tell, the principles that I share, they're all relevant, they're all timely. Like when you look at the like research shows us, there is research that actually shows that money habits are set in our kids by the age 7. I was like, what?
Wow.
Because they are watching, they are mimicking us,
Yes.
right? And we
Right.
think it's cute when they walk like us, or they talk like us, or they try to dress like us, but they are also paying attention to how we talk about money, how we spend money, how, if they see us avoiding people on the phone, or if they see us making little comments about, oh, I'm just going to pay this later, I deserve this. They are picking up all these things just in their daily observation and watching us, which is why it's so important that we can't just talk the talk like my parents did. They talked a great talk,
Right.
but I also saw some things that, weren't the best habits. So whether the habits are good or bad, our kids are like picking up their own money mindset and their money personalities by the time that they're 7. We know that money management isn't taught in the majority of schools, and there's
Hmm.
this big push trying to push legislation across the U.S. For there at least be one personal finance class about money before they graduate from high school. But in my opinion, that's too late. It's too
Right.
late. By then,
Right.
they already have bad habits, or there's already that gap there, which is why I created the Master Playbook, my company. We are a financial education and wellness company, but we are specifically focused on empowering parents. So
Hmm.
I know I get a lot of time parents feel like, well, I'm not that good at money. So what can I teach my kids? But we're gonna get to that. There are things you can teach your kids, but even me talking directly to the kids. So, like you mentioned earlier, whether it's through my money camp for kids, we're running one now through the end of March for ages 10 through 14, or our workshops for teenagers 14 and up. I'm really just trying to close that gap so that high school, or even after high school, isn't the first time that they're learning about important money matters. Um, it is so important.
It really is, Holly, because the one thing we tend to do is have an expectation that they're just picking it up. And to your point, they learn so much earlier because most kids now, by the time they're 12, they have some kind of a debit card or something, that because they want to swipe like they see us swiping, but do they truly understand the swipe? you
Right.
know
Right.
I used to have a joke in my house. It's not a good joke, but I said about my daughter, I said, I think you think that ATM just puts money in there every, month for you so that you can swipe, because you've got to understand this concept of the deposit that has to be made and then the debit that you do. Whenever you spend that money, it's not just about swiping the card and things are magically paid for. Understanding, as you said, the why, you know.
Yes. Absolutely. I credit is like one of the hot topics and one of the things that I realize our teens know the least about, but that's going to get them in the biggest trouble if they don't get a good grasp of it.
Mhm.
On March 29th, I'm actually hosting a training for teens on Credit 101, everything your teen needs to know. So I would be happy to share that information once I have
Yes.
the links and everything signed up for people to register. I was just finalizing that stuff today, but I can share it with you, Bridget. And if you want to share it with your community, that would be awesome. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I would love to give you guys a run through of the 5 money habits if you guys are interested, if people are interested. And then yeah,
I'm
and then that
interested.
way, if people have questions,
Yes.
they can either start putting them in the chat, or like as I go through them, I'll just run
Okay.
through the 5 money habits, because I promise you, it's probably going to touch on something that people either want to hear about, or good ways that they can start teaching their kids. I would want to know, just from everyone who's joining us so far, if you are a parent, what are the ages of your kids? So if you could put that in the chat, then that way I can probably give some very specific examples on how you can teach a specific money habit to that age group. So yeah, I'll kick it off. So the first money habit is work hard and be rewarded. So work hard and be rewarded. Anita said 29 and 33. Good job, Anita. You got them. Hopefully, you got them up and out. Good job, Anita. Okay. So, the first money habit is work hard and be rewarded. And with that money habit, that's where I really try to make sure the kids understand the relationship between those two things, right? Working and the reward on the other end. And so when you're talking about this concept, it's not always about money. So I make sure I relate it to other things that they are involved in first, just so they can see the relationship. Because we know with money, you're not going without working, you're not going to have any money. Okay. So let's make that clear, because we do live in this, our kids sometimes live in this fantasy reality that they could just have all the things without doing any of the work. And we need to correct that first and foremost. So I always talk about, hey, your kids have their very first job. If they live with somebody who is paying bills and they not paying bills, their very first job is to be a contributing member of their household, right? So, and what does that look like? That looks like chores. That looks like everybody in the house should have something that they are responsible for, that when it is completed, it makes the entire house run just a little bit smoother, right? So, their very first thing, there should just be basic chores. And so, some questions that I get about this, and they're like, well, do you pay your kids allowance for chores? And it depends on your family values. My family values say no, you don't pay your kids for the things that they are supposed to be doing. And so, how I make the distinction, if a family is interested and paying an allowance or paying a commission. That's the language of Mr. Ramsey. You want to pay a commission to your child is to think of things that would require them to go over and beyond, right?
Mhm.
Think of things that maybe you already pay somebody outside the home to already do, but now your child can take over. So for an example, my husband despises a dirty vehicle, right? So maybe you pay the instead of going to the car wash, you pay your child to wash the car inside, vacuum it, wipe down, wash the car. Would you pay someone to organize your basement or your attic? Then that could be something, a chore or a task over and beyond that maybe you would consider paying your child for. So think of the things that maybe you already paying a third party to do, even if it's occasionally. And that could be one of those things that they could actually earn money within the household. What do y'all think about that? Can y'all think of some other things or chores that you would consider above and beyond that you would actually pay your grandson, your granddaughter, a niece, or a nephew? Like one of the things for me, because I'm a bonus mom, so my stepson is now grown, honey. He's out on his own, has graduated from college. So now my husband and I are turning our attention to our nieces and nephews and trying to make sure they get it too, right? So like I'm trying to pay if they show up, some of them to be models for like my business. Like I need young people to help show off these flashcards that I've produced, and things like that. All right, so that's work hard and be rewarded. Um, Also with work hard and be rewarded, I talked to them about how their second job as a student is to be a good student, right? So we always talk about the value and the importance of education. And so the reward for being a good student looks like you get good grades. Good grades leads to scholarships, or good grades leads to you being able to participate in extracurricular activities, right? There's a reason when we're watching March Madness on TV, there's a reason they're calling the basketball players student athletes, because they are students first before they can go out and represent the colleges and universities that they are playing for. So just making that very clear with your child that these me letting you play football and cheer and gymnastics, all those things that are costing us more and more money, all those things, you know that that's a reward. I don't have to put you in those things. That's more money out of my pocket. So just to be clear, just talking to them about that. But then I also really like to encourage our young students to think about ways, think of the things that they are interested in, right? What do they have a natural talent for, a natural ability towards, or even just an interest in, and help them or allow them to brainstorm ways that they can monetize those skills at their age. There are so many articles. If you just do a quick Google search on kid entrepreneurs, you will see so many kids now. I mean, literally, all you need is a phone and a YouTube channel, and you could have a whole, something going on that they could be bringing in money. But like with the younger kids, it's really popular to, they were making slime at one point and bracelets, and now there's formulas on how kids can make their own bath bombs and skin products and soaps and all this stuff. I see there's a woman I went to college with, her kids have started a candle business.
Yes.
So yeah, so there are so
Yeah.
many different ideas and opportunities. If your child is interested in photography, I've seen the parents invest in a drone for the child, and or just a camera, a smartphone. They could take great pictures on a smartphone, and help give people great photography pictures or great video. So just think about that, and I just encourage the parents and the grandparents to encourage that entrepreneurial spirit. I grew up old school. Old school said you go to school, you get a good job, You don't quit that job, you work that job for 20, 30 years, then you can retire and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But let me tell you, times have changed. We don't have to go that route. There are other routes now that they can take and still be wildly successful.
Absolutely. You know, Holly, I was reading about a young CEO who has a lemonade company, and
Mm,
she started making lemonade from her grandmother's recipe. You probably know the
yes,
story. And now she's in stores
yes,
selling
I
her
talk about
lemonade.
Michaela all the
Yeah,
time. It's
absolutely.
a young girl
Yeah.
out of Austin, Texas.
Hmm.
She is now she like just recently wrote a book like two
Yes.
or two or
Hmm.
3 years ago, helping other kids who want to become entrepreneurs. She has a fantastic story, but I know she didn't do it on her own. She had the support of her parents and her community, making sure she was on Shark Tank. Yeah, so it's so many great examples just like her.
And to your point, it's a different era. You know, like you talked about, the same thing in my family. You get a good job, you work that job for 20, 30 years, and the benefits where you get to retire. And so there's so many avenues today that you can be your own boss, not you not work somebody else's job, and then you create the rules and you hire people, and you invest in yourself and your company. And I think we have to expose our children to a different mindset of how
Yes,
they look at their futures.
yes,
Explore
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. And there are so many great examples and opportunities. And I mean, you can Google, even find wherever you live, like your local um, chamber of commerce or different businesses will host business expos for kids, and different activities to really give them that exposure. And then if it's something that they're interested in that they need to, uh, you know, if they're interested in, they could definitely jump in and learn from the ground up. And then Ms. McCoy says they need to know that a reward is not an entitlement. Absolutely. That's
Absolutely.
exactly what I'm saying. They need to know that these are rewards, and rewards are not just given, they have to earn them. So, what are they doing on their side? So, when we talk about, commissions or giving our kids allowances, there need to be consequences when they don't follow through, when they don't complete the things that they are supposed to do. Like, just like you give money, start deducting money for attitudes, deducting money for you didn't get it done by the time you said you were going to get it done. The role that we play as the adults, as the guardian, as the grandparents, we have to make sure we're being consistent and holding them accountable, right?
Right.
So that is more work on us. But let me tell you, in the long run, it's going to be, you're going to get some great outcomes. All right. So that was work. That was work hard and be rewarded. Money habit number two is save first and consistently. And again, this is probably the most difficult money habit to master because it requires discipline, it requires self control. And when we live in a world where you can literally press a button on your phone and the package is there the next day, or you pop something in the microwave and you got a full meal after 2 minutes, it can be really hard to practice that delayed gratification, because that's what savings is all about, right? It's like putting your money in and waiting, putting your money in and waiting. And so I do get some pushback sometimes. They're like, well, Holly, I don't tell my kids to put their money in the bank because the banks aren't paying any interest. Like, the interest that they earn is so low. But it's not about depending on how old your kids are, when they are first starting out and learning about money and learning how to save, it's less about the interest rate that the bank is paying them. And it's more about them building that savings muscle, like getting in the habit, establishing that habit that every time money comes in, whether it's from a birthday gift, whether it's from them earning the money, making the money, that a portion needs to go into a savings account. It's about building that habit, because we try to, in nowadays, there's so many topics trending, bitcoins and investing in the stock market. And oftentimes we jump so far ahead without having the basics in place. So yes, I encourage investing. I encourage, you know, uh, getting in and learning about the NFTs and all these things that are new and trending. But they also need to have that solid foundation set. And the only way that they're going to build that savings habit is through practice, right? So
Right.
practicing it, watching them, letting them go and have the benefit of watching their money grow. For the younger ones, this would even work with a 10 or a 12-year old. One of the activities that I've seen really effective for getting them to start saving money is to make it fun, make it turn it into a game, and that's through coin collecting. So the U.S. has quarters for every different state, right? So you challenge them to collect all 50 quarters, and then every time they get money, they're going to be looking, trying to see if they have the next state that they need, see what they're missing. And you guys can even buy calendars where they can put those coins in the maps. But just getting them in the habit of saving those quarters, and then once they collect it all, go deposit it and start all over again, right? So that's really good at those young ages. For I would say that 12, 13, that preteen, right on the edge of teenagers. A really good thing that I like to do is make opening a bank account like a really big deal, almost like a rites of passage. So you're turning 13. You're now a teenager, and part of being a teenager is more responsibility. And so with that more responsibility, you get your first savings account, right? And going, making it a big deal, walking them through how to read bank statements. Usually, of course, we have all these online banks. They're going to have the best rates, but credit unions, your local credit unions, are another great resource because they often have rewards or programs or some kind of incentive for kids to save and invest, or birthday clubs, and that kind of stuff, just to kind of keep it interactive and fun throughout the way. And then for my teenagers, for the ones who know everything, right, and
Right.
want all the things,
Uh-huh.
so they want all the expensive things. We got to make sure they have some skin in the game. So they're asking for expensive Jordans. They're asking for all this new technology. They're asking for you to let them drive their car, like get a car of their own, whatever the thing is. They need to have some skin in the game. So the way you do that is you make a deal. You like, okay, you want that thing? I fully support you. You save up half, and I'll give you the other half. Or you save up 90%. I'll give you the other 10. Whatever it is, however you want to split it for them, but make them work for it. Like let them see what it takes to save. It's not going to be instantaneous, all the things that they want all the time. And so now, while you have them under your roof, and while they're listening to you, and especially because it's likely something that they really care about, then they will put more towards it, right? They'll start coming up with all kind of ways to earn money, like, hey grandma, you need me to rake these leaves, you need me to some of them
At,
do. That's
at, right. Yeah, those are the ones that are inspired to do it because they know there's some reward or gratification, as you
right.
mentioned. I know from time to time, we see things, and it's an opportunity for us to do exactly what you said. Give them some skin in the game. I found with my children, I'm with Anita with my children. They fall right in the same category as hers, the old babies, as I call them. But they took better care of the things that they had skin in the game versus those things that
They
were gifted to them. And to Dr. McCoy's point, there was some thought of entitlement to some things.
mm,
So the best way that I found was when they do have skin in the game. It's a
Yeah.
whole different mindset that because it's theirs, they invested in it. It wasn't
Yep.
just your money. Now it's their money, connected to it as well. So I need to take care of this better, or I need to keep it clean, or what have you.
Absolutely, because they will spend our money like this,
Yes,
like it's just a faucet. There's no turning it off.
yes.
And we need to rein that in a little bit and be like, look, I need you to participate.
Right. Absolutely. My mother used to have this thing. If you didn't follow those rules and you didn't commit your part, you would put your keys on the bar. She'd say, you could just deposit those keys on the bar. And so you walking by, you want to drive that car, you're a little gas happy. And you're just looking at those keys on the bar because you know not to touch those
Right.
keys, right? So
You
now
better
I've
not
got,
touch those
right,
kids.
I got to find a way to get my keys back, was my standpoint. And that once I learned that lesson, I don't repeat the problem that I caused to put those keys on the bar. But what I didn't do, I wasn't going to do that again because that was a good lesson to learn.
Yeah, there was some consequence associated with it.
Absolutely. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, the next money habit is spend wisely and consciously. So, when I talk about spending wisely and consciously, of course, I'm
Hmm.
talking about, giving them kind of a framework around budgeting, allocating their money, right? But
Right.
more importantly, it's also about making them aware of all of the external factors that impact how they spend their money, right? And it all starts with kind of knowing the difference between needs and wants. And when we live in an environment where everything name brand and luxury brand is so accessible, people get those lines get really blurry where you're like, is an iPhone a need or a want? And the kids are like, it's a need. You need your phone, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but you don't need an iPhone. That flip phone can make the same phone call that iPhone can make, right? If the point is to being connected with people, right? So just making sure our kids know the difference between needs and wants, and then also making them aware of like all the marketing tactics and marketing traps. Like we literally cannot go on the internet. So for example, right before this call, I was googling a some floaties for a pool, like,
Mhm.
floaties for a pool, right? Looking
Right.
ahead to the summer, getting ready for them warmer months. And then I went to a different website, and over on the side, the floaty that I was Googling earlier popped up on the side because of these cookies that are following us all around the internet. And then you pick up your phone, you try to look for something else, and then the floaty gonna be on the phone, and you're gonna be like, wait a minute, who is watching me? But because that happens, it almost becomes unconscious that we
Right.
are seeing these things, but it's playing into, the psychology of, all right, let me go back and go make that purchase, or let me go somewhere and find something similar. But all these things that are coming to us every day, trying to influence and tell us where we should be spending our money. So we need to make our kids equally aware of those things. And one of the most popular examples I use is, looking at the when you go into Walmart or you go into Target, you've walked around the store, you've done all of your shopping, and then you get to the checkout line, right? And then the checkout line is filled with all these things, whether it's cold Coca-Cola or a pack of gum or whatever, right? And those things, if you were to look at them at the checkout aisle, the gum might be 99 cents a pack. However, if you were to go all the way back to where the gum is sold on the regular aisle, you'll find that same pack of gum, maybe not as a single pack, but in a three pack for $1.99. And so asking your kids what's the better value, the three pack for $1.99 or the single pack for 99 cents. Now, obviously, the better value is the three pack, but because of convenience, because the stores are trying to pull every last dollar out of your pocket before you exit the store,
Right.
explaining to them that's why those things are there to encourage impulse purchasing. to encourage purchasing without even thinking, right? Without even giving it a second thought. So those kind of things are really important just to raise their awareness so that they know the difference. But they can tell when they are being advertised to versus when something might otherwise be a really good deal. They are always advertised to. There's always somebody trying to influence how you spend your money, where you spend your money, how much you spend your money, whether it's attaching it to a celebrity or a musician or whatever it is. You can't even watch a movie now without there being product placement all within the movie, whether it's the car that the superhero is driving or a drink that somebody's drinking. We are constantly being advertised to and kind of unconsciously being told how to spend our money.
Right.
Yeah. So spend wisely and consciously is that third money habit. And then the fourth one is use credit responsibly. Now, this kind of gets back to that whole credit card thing we were talking about. There is research that shows we spend between 2 to 3 times more when we use a credit card versus if we were paying with cash, right? And it's because of that. There's, when you pay with the credit card, you don't see it, you don't feel it, there's no connection to it, and you don't have to face it until 30 days later when that bill comes up and then it's due. But while our kids are watching us swipe, dip, tap, they have no idea. Many of the kids, at least that come across my path, they struggle explaining to me what the difference is between a debit card and a credit card. Now, they're very similar, right? But there are distinct differences, including, the debit card being straight from you being attached to your bank account and the credit card actually being a loan. When we use our credit cards, we are borrowing money. And our kids need to understand the consequences that are attached when you borrow money, how you have to pay it back. If you don't pay it back, then on the flip side, instead of earning interest that the banks reward you for keeping your money in the bank, on the flip side, now interest is being used as a penalty, right? Because you didn't pay me on time or within the allotted 30 days. Now I'm going to tack a little something on extra that's going to make it even more expensive, even make that item even more expensive. And so that can become a slippery slope if the education piece isn't there, if we haven't talked them through it. And our kids are, they may be the first generation that operates in a completely cashless society. I mean, we are pretty much there now, right? We're
Right.
People rarely carry cash. And then went through this pandemic. There was a shortage. People didn't want to exchange cash because they were afraid the virus was going to be exchanged with the passing and handling of all that dirty money. And so there's a real reality that this could end up where they have nothing but cards, plastic, wearable watches where they just have to swipe it or scan it, and money is pulled out of their accounts. So that's why I feel this sense of urgency more than ever to make sure that they understand how it all works, so that they don't get caught up in over their head, taking on more than they could actually handle, especially when they're first starting out. Which is why I'm doing that one on credit later this month, talking to the teenagers.
Holly, I did an event on yesterday or this past weekend, let me just say it that way. And what I noticed is my younger attendees would have cash, but opt to use their debit card or
Mm,
their or credit card, most of them debit cards. And there was a service fee. And they said, oh, it's okay. I want to keep my cash. So you pay an extra $2. So that event that was $15 is now $17 for convenience.
yep.
Because to your point, or even, we buy it on the credit card. So now that $15 blouse just became, 18, $19 blouse when you add the interest on top of that. That particular blouse or product, so in looking at it that way. Now, I'd be wrong if I told you I didn't swipe and use my credit card, but it is a different way of looking at it when you consider the interest that is associated if you're not paying that off um, at the end of the month.
Yeah, and a lot of them don't have any concept of, oh, I got to pay this off. Now, when do I have to pay this off? No, like they just have no concept of what happens later. They're just operating in the now and mimicking what they see us doing without really understanding the full line of what happens on the other side.
Right,
Right?
right.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Oh, and if you don't pay that, at least the minimum balance, and if you had a late fee. So now that that $15 just became $30 or
Exactly. Real
you know,
quick.
real quick. Absolutely. So
Real quick.
but really understanding that, because there are things that along the way we've learned, and I think you're spot on with what you're doing with the children in terms of understanding the credit card, the debit card, even the checkbook. And when's the last time you heard someone talk about balancing the checkbook, or even what what they're spending or balancing the debit card?
Yep. They
Because we're swiping out of sight, out of mind.
out of sight, out of mind. And then a lot of people manage their spending by just pulling up their bank account and seeing what's in the bank account without thinking through what are all the things that I'm already committed to that need to be paid before I can spend this money on this $200 thing or this $100 thing, right? They just look, they say, "Oh, I have $500 in my account, I can get it." But they're not thinking about all the things that they've already committed themselves to, which is why I talk to the teens about these new payment plans, right? They're like layaway plans where when you go on a website and you're checking out and they're like, "Oh, break it
Mhm.
up into 4 payments, no interest." It sounds really great, right? Until you do that 6 and 7 times, $20 now, instead of it being $20 a month for the next, 4 months, or now it's whatever, it's like 120 or $140. But it seemed really good at the time. But when you multiply that really quick because of the convenience, because it looks good, then it can really still get them into some trouble. So
I,
yeah,
I,
so that yeah,
I'm sorry, I was going to say, absolutely. I've seen that, like a delayed payment program, and it's, when it seems too good to be true, it usually is.
right.
Too good to be true.
I mean, it's great if you are on top of it. But
Right.
I know that most of our young people, even most of our young adults, are not, they don't have a lot of practice managing the money. So they are bound to slip up, make a mistake, forget. Nobody's tracking anything anymore. So it can easily turn into a negative when it's meant to be something that benefits them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh,
And so the
but
last money habit is give generously. That's number 5. Give generously. This is probably my favorite money habit because, again, in this world, in our society, everything is focused on me, me, me. So, me inward. And this money habit takes a step back and allows us to teach our kids about giving through, showing empathy, practicing compassion, taking the eyes off of themselves and their selfies, but to look outward instead, and to be one really grateful for the things that they have, and realize there are so many other people, so many other families and communities that have far less. That's where they start getting these lessons about this entitlement, right? You worried about your You mad because your mom won't replace the iPhone screen that you cracked now 3 times in the last month. And there are kids out there with nothing, like they have nothing. So just exposing them to things. And so the best way that I tell parents to start talking about that giving habit is to start sharing and having conversations with your kids about the things that you care about, whether the things that you are actively giving to. And we talk about giving through the 3 T's of giving. You give through your time, through your talent, and through your treasure, right? And so those 3 ways, where do you volunteer your time? Where do you give of your talents? Where do you give of your treasure? And treasure doesn't always have to be money. It can be material things. It can be the jacket that you bought last week, or last over the last year, but because you picked up some weight, now you can't really close that jacket. So you can give those things and donate those things and
Mhm.
make like going through our homes. We have a I know I have a bad habit. Girl, I got hoarders in my family. And so I do my very best try not to be that I intentionally set times during the year where I am cleaning up, clearing out the clutter, and I call it making room for more, like getting rid of the old to make room for bigger and better things. That's my declaration when I'm doing it.
I am so with you. I need to adopt that habit of clearing out, making room for more, and sharing. I love that. The 3 T's.
Yes,
I'm going to borrow that from you.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, it is. These are just like the foundational, the building blocks. Everything your child should start to practice while they have the safety net of you and your guidance. While the decisions, the money decisions, are small and not too overbearing, right? Because what we know that once they are out on their own, all bets are off. Things are going to start coming at them. And so, if they can master these money habits at a young age, and have a good sense of them, it will carry them through for years to come, no matter what comes down the pipeline. Because if Bitcoin doesn't last, it's going to be something else. It's going to be something else, call something else. But there's always going to be something that's attractive that's coming at them. But if they understand, just the foundational values and principles about saving money, having delayed gratification, not putting all your eggs in one basket, um, you know, having an emergency fund, not investing in the money that you need for everyday survival and living, which is the mistake that many of us do, just so we can say, "Oh, I own Bitcoin." Okay, but if you get a flat tire next week, you have nothing. You can't go get that Bitcoin out, or by the time you exchange it for real money, the value has gone down. Like things are just so volatile right now. I just want to make sure that our kids are set with the solid principles that are going to carry them through into a lot of the decisions that they're going to have to make as adults.
Oh, fantastic. Holly, we could go on and on and on about these things. I think you've given us some wonderful principles tonight to start with our kids. If we were going to start with two right off the bat, if we gave the number two, what would those two be for us that you would say, start here?
Yes. So I would definitely say savings, because we know the delayed gratification is going to require some practice. Okay. It's going to require some practice. And because savings is the launch pad for investing. And we definitely want our kids to start investing, right? At some point,
Right.
especially if they get jobs, they can start investing in we can open up a Roth IRA account for our teenagers as long as they have earned income that's coming in. So that's a great one that I would start with. Just practicing that savings habit, setting the expectation. Like the overarching thing and theme in all of this is none of these habits are going to work if we, as the adults, we, as the parents, don't set the parameters, set some expectations for them, and walk them through some of this. Or y'all can send them to me and I'll get them straight.
All
So,
right.
so that's one. The other one I would say would definitely be giving, right? So again, we got to fight this selfishness that's happening in this world. We have to fight where all the attention is on you, on me as an individual, and with all the selfies, and I'm constantly worried about what I look like, what I have going on, and we need to give them an outer view as to what's really going in this world, because it doesn't revolve around them. Okay, so giving would be the other one that I would put like at the top of the list.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So, a couple of things I don't want us to leave without Holly giving us her information and how you can get more and enroll your grandchildren, children into some of her classes. The master playbook is awesome. I mentioned that I have my cards. You all, they are so cute. And then the two that I just pulled out tonight, just to say, if your children, if you were trying to explain what an asset is, she breaks it down for them. I mean, we're gonna play a game with this at my house because I got some adults that need some of this stuff. And the other one that I pulled out was overdraft. Now, those adults at my house, I hope they know what an overdraft is because I think we talked about it, but we're going to revisit it. And she explains on the back of the card what's an overdraft. So, making it fun. Um, Holly, I think this is what this does. But one of the things I would love to do is for those that have joined us tonight is I'd like to gift one of the books, activity books. So Holly, you tell us. You asked the question. What I said was you asked the question from something that you shared tonight,
Okay.
and based on their response, the first person to respond with the right answer, I'm going to gift that person one of your activity books. So go ahead, Holly.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna make it easy for you guys. The last money habit we talked about was giving. Give generously. What were the three T's of giving that I talked through? We just got through talking through it. What were the three T's of giving?
I almost need that music, dun-dun, but I'm sure. Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Let's see if somebody remembers.
Somebody remembers them. See, I
And
wish
look,
I could play.
I'll give a hint. One of the T's, it involves you volunteering. That's one of the T's. That was a hint for somebody. Look, I'm about to find this chat over here. I'm about to look through it.
Because we know
Mhm.
somebody's got it. All three of them.
Come on, Miss McCoy and Miss
Dr.
Brooks
Uh, uh, uh,
and Miss Williams. Y'all been
uh,
holding it. Oh yes. Okay, so that's the one.
that's
Now, what
one.
were the other two? I'll give you a hint. Another one was another one was um, it's not always about your money, but it's you could.
Dr. McCoy, thank you.
Go ahead, Miss McCoy. Hey, hey.
Oh, look. Oh,
Awesome.
so we got a tie there. All right. So Holly, we got two. I'll do two.
Okay,
All
okay.
right. One for Sister Teresa Brooks and then Dr. McCoy. We
I
get two
love it.
books. So I think I have those addresses already. So Holly, I'll connect with you so we can get them sent out to them. Thank you
Awesome.
all so much for joining us this evening. I want to close with letting you know that if you have, well, first of all, before I get do that, Holly, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and share with us how we can learn more about the Master Playbook.
Yes, you guys can follow me across any social media that you're on, including Facebook. So I know you might be on Facebook at the Master Playbook. You guys can also just visit themasterplaybook.com and you'll be able to find more about either the financial literacy resources or even the programs. And when you go to the website, it's going to ask you to join my email list. That's the way you're going to get the most updated information because I'll be sending out information about, real time workshops and things that are happening so you can get your grandkids or your kids, your teens, even the little ones in for some financial education fun.
Oh, fantastic. Again, thank you, you all. And if you did not get that information, you can always reach back to me. I'm happy to share it. Holly, we hope you can come back and join us in the future. This was great information. We can't thank you enough for giving us some foundational things to help our children, our young ones, and our ones that are a little bit older, our older babies, as we would say. And then
Absolutely.
I would like to extend anyone that does not know Jesus Christ as their personal Savior, um, the offer for salvation. All you have to do is ask Him to come into your life and make Him your personal Lord and Savior. And if that is you, if you'll type in salvation in the chat. And if you are looking for a church home, one that will wrap themselves around you and have a loving church family, type in connect, and we would love to have you as a part of the Rejoice and Praise family. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it, and have a good evening. Thanks again, Holly. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye.
Bye.